LP Dumoulin has nearly caught the race leader. White flag going to be in the air this time at the WeatherTech 200. It's going to come down to the wire.
It is definitely going to come down to the wire. 1 lap to go under the Michelin bridge and back into turn 1. Lacroix with the lead, but LP Dumoulin is coming. He sets the fastest lap of the race on that last lap around. So that WeatherTech 47 looking for the win here. Can he get there? He has caught him so fast as they come through turn 2. Lacroix able to keep the gap at a steady advantage through turn 2 as they head back through turn 3.
One thing to remember about LP Dumoulin, he is an elite athlete. Physical conditioning is his forte. So at this point where the heat's got to be getting to these drivers, advantage might be a little bit towards Dumoulin in the 47. He closes in the Moss hairpin.
Half a lap to go. It's just the Mario Andretti straightaway and the S's to go. How good is the exit going to be for the WeatherTech Dodge? He gets a very nice exit. Again, closes the gap in. This is where the draft is going to come into effect. Down the Mario Andretti back straightaway. Kevin Lacroix has the lead. Here comes LP Dumoulin. Look at the horsepower of that thing as they climb up the hill and heading underneath the Canadian Tire Bridge. He's up the outside. He's almost clear of Lacroix as they come side by side through turn number 8. It's down to the last 2 corners on the track.
The WeatherTech 200 coming to the wire. They slide through turn number 9 into 10. LP Dumoulin going to cross over Kevin Lacroix. Couldn't do it. Pushes him off the corner. Kevin Lacroix going to win the WeatherTech 200. Holy moly, what a race.
Wow. All we can say is wow. Is this the best CTMP finish that we have seen in the NASCAR Pinty Series? No real contact. We weren't shoving each other off the racetrack. LP Dumoulin in the WeatherTech 47, the pole sitter, has an opportunity to get his first win in a couple of seasons, and he can't get by Kevin Lacroix in the end. Lacroix only gets his first win of the season. Man, this is the type of racing that I want to see. Clean to the end. Now, do I want it to affect our man Andrew Ranger when he's in the lead? I don't like seeing what we saw there. Unfortunately, we got a bunch of wrecked race cars because of what happened. We'll get into that conversation. We'll talk about the results from CTMP. We'll talk about what is going to happen as we head to the Pinty's Fall Brawl. We'll have a visit with Kyle Steckley, who was out at CTMP in the number 22 APC Chevrolet for 22 Racing. I'm Cam K, back here with you for the NASCAR Pinty Series Power Hour here on GeForce TV, your home for all things motorsports. I'm definitely excited about talking about this one because CTMP does not disappoint. Very rarely does it. There's been some races where we got stuff out of our control. Weather plays a big factor in whether a race can be good or not. There's contact, there's aggression, stuff that we don't want to see. But one thing that I really like is when I get to see some clean finishes. Take it back to the Truck Series with Ryan Blaney and Armand Quiroga in probably the best finish at CTMP in terms of NASCAR. Obviously, there's plenty of other racing series that have raced at CTMP over the years. But this, for the NASCAR Pinty Series, was exactly what we needed. A great finish. Something that actually takes away from the championship battle for once. Marc-Antoine Camirand, Trayton Lapsevich weren't really a factor in terms of securing this win. It was the last lap pass between Kevin Lacroix and LP Dumoulin. And LP had him. He had him for just that little bit. But unfortunately, he couldn't hang on to it. I love seeing this. I love seeing races that come down to the finish like this. It was amazing. I think at the end of the day, the series has seen some fantastic growth this year. 2023 has been great. 2024 is looking even better. Now, obviously, there's still a lot of things we have to decide here. We have to decide where is the schedule for next year. What is going to be on it? I think everybody is thinking that there's going to be one big shoe to drop. There could be more than just one. I only know about one potential right now. I talk about the Montreal being the big one. But could there be more? I know that there's some team owners that want 15 races. I think we should be okay at 12, 13 again. 14, we'll take it. I think we're looking at dirt racing. We're looking at road course racing, street courses, ovals. But then you have to add one more thing. Malcolm Strawn, former driver of the 98, he's been driving it this year on occasion. So we don't know if he's back at Delaware. I think that car is being taken by somebody that is a bit of a surprise. When his name comes out, I think it'll be very interesting, as if it's at least still who I believe it's going to be. Somebody may have mentioned on GeForce TV that they were going to be in the number 98 at Delaware, so we'll be very interested to see if that comes true. Malcolm Strawn had said, where's the ice racing? He's got a great point. I mean, here in Canada is the place to do it. I mean, sure, Euro is there, but I think you definitely got to go to Quebec, get some ice racing capabilities in there. Do it at have Dominic Fougere put it together, because they know how to put on a show in Quebec. We'll get into it a little bit more. We'll talk about the results as well. One thing that we can't really dive into too much is the point standings. In fact, there's not really an updated point standings at the moment. I went to tobychristie.com to figure out what at least the lead is looking like. 3 points is what we're looking at right now, is all Trayton Lapsevich lost at CTMP, which is exactly what he needed to do over Marc-Antoine Camirand. Obviously, Camirand has a bit of a long shot here. I think 35 points based off of the amount of positions and the amount of bonus points you can get. I don't know if we can get to that point here. I want to get to this comment right now. Snow Skate Ride says, was just at the race yesterday. Best live race I've ever seen. Never personally watched the series, but I'm so intrigued. I'm so glad to hear this. This is what we want. We want more people coming into the series because we have a lot to show here. A lot of talent, a lot of great racers. We don't always have contact in races. We sometimes have these great finishes. That's what we want. We have people in charge of the series that know where we want it to be. We have great partners in the series. And we're talking Pinty's has been with this series for so many years now. But now you add in Freshstone Brands coming in. You've had Quick Wick as part of this. Aviram just came on board. WeatherTech continues to support. We have had some amazing partners in this series, and we want to continue to grow, get as much of corporate Canada involved as we possibly can. Obviously, you've got to talk about GM Paillet, another example of a guy that's come in and invested a ton of money into this series. He's somebody else that we've got to be supportive of, right? So Asa Aboy and this number 3 car for Alex Gannett Napa coming on board with Kevin Lacroix, who got the victory. I can't be more excited for Kevin. He's some people that don't like Kevin Lacroix, that's completely okay. You are allowed to like and not like whoever you want in motorsports. Obviously, you're never going to have everybody be a fan of one driver. That's never the case. But what I will say is that for a guy that gets a lot of flack for how he drives and how he acts on the track, Kevin Lacroix is a very, very sarcastic, very funny person. He is a lot of fun. In fact, his celebration doing the Homer Donuts was something he had talked about with me in a conversation a couple of months ago. And he followed through. He said, when I win, I'm going to do this. And he did. He did. I absolutely love that. Snow Skate Ride was parked beside number 3's pit crew. And he gave me lots of info. We'll for sure be tuning in the future. I was cheering for a Ranger tragic loss. Unfortunately, it was a tragic loss, Snow Skate Ride. We'll get to Andrew in a second because that does warrant its own conversation. Andrew is the golden star, I think, for this series in terms of magic appeal. Lots of people love Andrew Ranger from Ontario, from Quebec, from all over Canada, from the U.S. He is a huge name. He has had one of the worst seasons that I think I have ever seen in the history of the series. The luck for him has been awful. So we'll talk with him. Nice to see, Snowskate Ray, that you will have subscribed, and we'll be back for all the info. We are here every Monday at 7 o'clock. As long as there's some racing going on, we will be covering it. We are into the off season as well. We'll be doing some stuff there. We'll talk about the season. Hopefully get some more interviews for all of you fans. Of course, when you subscribe to GeForce TV, you also get access to the APC United Late Model Series, which broadcasts live here. They will be back for the Fall Brawl at Delaware Speedway, as well as I believe they'll still be doing the Quick Superstock Series on the Friday. Exciting stuff. Also, you've got your weekly dirt racing at Ohsweken Speedway. This past weekend, we did Merrittville and Brighton Speedway. So lots of great, I'm not sure if it was last weekend we were at Merrittville. This week we're at Brighton. Lots of great stuff on GeForce TV. They do an amazing job. Clinton Jeffrey, Adam Ross, Greg Kalman, Spencer Mullen, an amazing team that we have here, and I'm just privileged to be a part of it. But we are going to get into the results here for the WeatherTech 200 at CTMP, a fantastic event. Once again, what is really nice is that CTMP does bring the crowds out. We have seen this. We saw it earlier this year. CTMP has got the crowds down. That's what we want to see. Camping galore. The weather, it was toasty. Let's not lie. It was toasty out there. But I'd rather see a race like this rather than a rain race. The last time we saw one, unfortunately, the field was just way too spread out. Now, obviously, we can talk about Kevin Lacroix getting this race victory over LP Dumoulin. Is this the best finish at CTMP? I'm going to go with yes, because it was relatively clean. I liked Trayton's move. I was there for that race. I liked it, but the amount of flack that it's getting because it was a, quote, bump and run, not great. Gary Clute and Kevin Lacroix, same thing. I think Gary Clute's first ever win here was a great finish. However, it was Ranger and Scott Steckley getting into it. So I like having a clean finish. That's what I'll say. This was a good one. Tough though for LP, man. He's had a rough season. Let's not lie about it. He's not been at LP quality, and Dumoulin Competition has not had a win in a while, and they looked like they were going to get this one for the WeatherTech team and the WeatherTech partnership. That's what we want to see, is a partnership that's getting reward for a lot of its effort. Unfortunately, though, second place is where they're going to have to settle. He started off well by getting the pole position away from Marc-Antoine Cameron, who was doing everything that he could to try and limit the damage before heading to Delaware to try and close that gap on Trayton Lapsevich. I think if it's at 35 points, it does seem a little bit out of reach for the 96, which is okay. I think they can take a very good onus in that they did have a great season. They got more wins than they did last year. There was lots of controversy once again with them, but they're just going to come up a little bit short this year. Hi, Andy. Thank you for tuning in. So we're going to add in a couple of these names into the equation. DJ Kennington, if you ask him, he says he's not a road racer. He's an oval track racer. He's really good at Delaware Speedway. So watch for him at the Fall Brawl. Kennington has also had a really rough year compared to last year. He was not in a lot of mechanical problems for DJ this year. So he wasn't in the normal competition that we've seen him be in. It's a little bit tough to see that. At the end of the day, he finishes fourth at CTMP. That's a solid race for the Castrol Edge team coming in. It is fantastic that we get to see DJ Kennington continue this. He's continuing that hot streak of getting back and getting momentum since those bad finishes plagued him. Unfortunately, they happen to be the races that we went outwards. And at the end of the day, I'm going to take a fourth place for DJ Kennington after the struggles that they've had this year. Alex Labbé, if he is going to come back in to this series, I think we all of us a sudden gets bumped up a little bit more because he's with a new team. They started third and they finished fifth. So he came in, did GP3R, did iCar, and then comes into CTMP and is succeeding extremely well right away. Bring him back. Do what we can. I don't want to see him running in the back in the Xfinity Series anymore. I want to see him come back and contend for a championship again. I think Alex still has a lot of talent, and he's a veteran. Still at a young age, but he is a veteran. Trayton Lapsovich coming in, finishing in 6th place, did what he needed to do. Trayton does get a bonus point out of this, and it helps him keep that lead. He's at 564 points, so he does move up. Marc-Antoine Cameron at 529. That is pretty far off for one race to be able to make it. Alex Tagliani in 3rd place, LP Dumoulin, Kevin Lacroix, DJ Kennington, Alex Gannett, JP Bergeron, Larry friggin' Jackson, and Andrew Ranger jumps into the top 10 despite his finish. Unfortunately, we'll talk about Andrew's finish. We'll talk about what also happened to somebody who was in the top 10. Thank you, Andy. We appreciate for you subbing to the channel. That's really appreciated. Unfortunately, we had to come back for a couple guys. We had a driver who really, really wanted to have a good finish, and Dexter Stacy. He's had some good runs this year, had some bad runs. And unfortunately, another mechanical problem for Team 3 Red. Team 3, it's been a tough second half of the year for them as a collective whole. So unfortunately, that didn't really work out for either of the Stacys because Wallace was also crashed, and it didn't really help him out that happened. We've got to continue with the real welcome sight of seeing David Thorndike back. Now, you might not know David Thorndike. David has been in this series dating back to NASCAR, and David was not able to race the last 2 years due to health issues and has finally made his way back out. He's not somebody that's going to go out and run top 5 battle for wins, but he's another car out there that does a great job doing the best that he can with what he's got. And he got out, qualified 29th, and still managed to come out and finish the event, which, or at least compete. He competed. He didn't make all the laps. He was 30 away from the finish, but I'm still happy to see him back there. Brent Weller made his first start of the season. We weren't sure if he was even going to make this race because they had issues on the previous day. The one entrant that did not make the call, Benoit Couture, unfortunately, he was way off in practice. They were, I think, 15 seconds behind the next slowest car. So unfortunately didn't get 31. We got 30, which is still solid. LP Montour, he also had a tough finish. Again, there's mechanical troubles that seem to have also plagued Dumoulin competition this year. We saw it at GP3R with JF Dumoulin. So the next kind of topic we've got to go on to was this big issue for Andrew Ranger leading the race. And unfortunately, it all goes undone. He, unfortunately, some sort of a motor issue again, which resulted in oil all over the track, and cars went off, including Gary Clute, who was doing great. He had a beautiful looking 59 car, is always fast at this racetrack. Unfortunately, it took him out of contention with some damage. Other drivers actually got damaged as well. There was some uncharacteristic finishes for some guys that we would typically see up there. Obviously, Thomas Nouveau being involved with mechanical problems again, and it sucks for Nouveau because he's also been somebody that we theoretically, I really thought Thomas Nouveau was going to have fantastic runs on the road courses, but actually it's been the ovals that he's done much better at. Daryl Timmers also didn't have the best race for the 98 car. I know that they're a little bit better than that. Matthew Scannell was a struggle for him, and not typically do we see that. But I also think qualifying for him was noticeable. Qualifying for Matthew Scannell, typically he's up in the top 15, and he just wasn't this time around at CTMP, and what the reasoning is, I'm not entirely sure. Michael Gowdy had a good return in this. He finished in the top 20. Sam Fellows still working out the kinks, I think Sam is. Herbie Drescher, who is also making it's really his first season as an actual racer in this series. Second trip to CTMP. I'm going to give him a huge pat on the back because he came from 28th on the grid. And he wins the Newfoundland Tourism Move of the Race because he came from 28th on the grid to 16th. I love it. I love the fact that we have a driver named Herbie that has the 53 Herbie font on the side of his race car. You know, he's been a crew member for so long. He's helped out so many people, and now he gets to be a part of it as a driver. And you just, the smile on his face says everything. Absolutely everything. I'm going to give a call as well to Peter Kloot and actually Gary's brother Ryan. Ryan got his first top 10 finish, I believe, in the NASCAR Pinty Series in 9th place. We're going to bring a couple more names up. We'll get through the rest of the order here, and then we'll bring on Kyle Steckley, and we'll talk with Kyle about how things have gone for him in the NASCAR Pinty Series this year, and how what his future is really looking like, because he's had obviously some big opportunities. He's got a big opportunity this weekend and in the off season. He's obviously competing in the APC United Late Model Series, so we'll chat with him for a little bit. So we'll keep it going up. Glenn Stiers, you know what? I'm going to give Glenn a call too. 30 cars, and he finished in 20th place. That's pretty good for him. Qualified 23rd, which is better than other people in the field as well. So you got to give a call to him. JP Bergeron, Brandon Watson, Alex Gannett. Bit of a struggle for Alex. I would have hoped he would have done a little bit better than that. Same with JP. Larry friggin' Jackson, 11th place. 11th place for the O'Neill Electric Dodge. We've talked with Larry for years. He's not been in the position where he's had the best equipment. He qualified 19th out of 30, and he finished 11th. He's 9th in the standings. I don't know. I don't think Andrew can catch him, and he can't really get to JP. So 9th is probably where he's going to end up. But for a team like Larry's, which is not the best equipment, it's not the most funded, they are not at the bottom of the pack anymore in the running order. They are middle of the pack to, in this case, just outside the top 10, which is fantastic. Kyle Steckley came out with a top 10 finish in his very first road course race. Obviously, we mentioned Ryan Kloot. Tag in 8th. Daniel Bois with a 7th place finish. And, of course, I'm going to give a call to MBS Motorsports. They've had some really rough races this year with Mechanical Gremlins being involved in an accident at GP3R. And they come away with a 7th place finish. It's their second straight top 10 finish of the year. Whether they'll be at Delaware, I'm not sure. I know they didn't have a great experience at Delaware. They've got some time, though. You got 20 days to decide whether or not you're going to be at Delaware to race. But that was a rundown of the results. And there was a lot of, obviously, some great stuff that happened throughout this race. And we'll look forward, obviously, to Delaware. We'll talk about who we could potentially see out at the racetrack. We'll talk about how this season is gone as well. And I think one of the things that we should be, really excited about is the fact how this season has gone with 14 races. We haven't really dropped off in terms of the counts. The last couple of races, 24, 25, 30. So the last 3 races have done that. I expect we'll probably be around 24 to 26 for the finale as well. Again, not complete insider knowledge here, but we do know that there are some names that have been confirmed for Delaware Speedway. And obviously plans are one thing. There's definitely some things that I want to say for Delaware Speedway that we're going to get, but we'll go with what's semi-confirmed. So as of right now, my count is 23. I think we could potentially just get maybe one or two more. Glenn Stiers, David Hebert from Paille Racing was already confirmed that he's going to be racing. JP Bergeron, Alex Gannett, Trevor Monahan had already confirmed Delaware Speedway as one of the races that he was going to. Brandon Watson, I mean, he was the winner last year. I'd be curious to see if maybe the 12 car shows up with Raphael Lessard. He's always really, really good at that track, especially last year and before the big wreck. And Matthew Kingsbury has had him in the 12 car this year, and I think he could do very, very good if they decide to make that call. DJ Kennington, Alex Tagliani, Trayton Lapsovich, Kyle Steckley. We expect Josh Collins Racing will be back, which is Brandon McFarlane in the number 23 and Josh Collins in the 56. Thomas Nouveau, Andrew Ranger, Ryan Dyson from the Super Sox in Ontario. He's going to be driving the 28 for DJ Kennington. LP Dumoulin, Kevin Lacroix, Donald Teague, Larry Jackson, Dexter Stacy, Marc-Antoine Camerand. I would expect the 98 car there. We kind of have a semi-interesting name that's in there. Again, whether or not it happens, I have no idea, but the big kind of announcement that was made over the past week was Amber Balcaen is going to race for DJ Kennington. She's going to be running in the Ontario Sportsman Series the week before at Delaware Speedway. So all of a sudden, it is, fantastic that we'd get this kind of field of cars again. Now, want is the number of cars. Do we need not hand the 20 the championship? Well, Kevin, at the end of the day, the 20 earned the championship. He's not being handed the championship. He won the most races this year, has been the best throughout the year. The 96 pretty close. At the end of the day, the best of the best are first and second. No one else has been even close. I do think, though, that Delaware, what we saw last year was a lot of people, I think the 96 kind of rubbed people the wrong way during that race. He did. I mean, they made contact a couple of times with Jake Sheridan, with the 27 of Andrew Ranger, and then, of course, with Kyle Steckley towards the end of the race. So, no, I don't think there's a position of handing the championship to the 20. The championship is pretty well decided beforehand right now. At the end of the day, I think this is good. We have not had a Ontario champion since Trayton's brother Caden in 2016. It's been a primarily Quebec-dominated series. I'm going to say that a lot of that is thanks to their supporters. The Quebec drivers have had fantastic partnerships and fantastic support from their home province. It's been a little bit harder. And Trayton Lapsovich was not even supposed to make it to this finale. If you guys remember, they did not have a primary partner on the side of their number 20 car until Glenn Stiers stepped up and helped. So all of a sudden, adding somebody like an Amber Balcaen to the situation, she's a reputable name, somebody from the ARCA Menard series who's raced in the ARCA Menard series for years, raced for Kyle Busch in the late models. She's been a dirt racer. That's a name that we definitely would like to see here, and it is welcoming to have people coming from ARCA to our series, because if you might remember, actually JP Bergeron also came from ARCA, raced there, and that's where I believe Dave Jacobs met JP, and The real question, I think, a lot of this is we've got this fall brawl, but now I'm very curious what means coming after it. Unfortunately, they add this silly emoticon thing, so I can't really see all of Kevin's comment here, but I'm not saying he didn't earn it, but I'm saying that the fall brawl is kind of victory lap race. Well, it is, right? It's a victory lap race. Do we think that Trayton is going to go out in and just win it? Hard to say. I think that Brandon Watson is pissed about how his season has gone, and he's going to want to win a race. I think Donald Teege, if Donald Teege has the speed that he had last year, he's not letting this one get away. No way. No. He was so kind to Brandon Watson at the end of that race last year, not getting into him, trying to race him clean to the end. I feel as if the Don isn't going to be this as nice this time around. LP Dumoulin, he could pull a surprise. Andrew Ranger could pull a surprise, but I wanted to talk with somebody who's really good at Delaware Speedway. Previous to us going there, I wanted to talk to somebody who was getting his feet wet, really, in the NASCAR Pinty Series. He's done a couple of races. He's been very impressive in those races, and I want to bring him on. That's Kyle Steckley for 22 Racing, the APC Canusa Pennzoil Chevrolet for 22 Racing. He's a driver who I've actually seen come up through mini stocks into the late models and now into the NASCAR Pinty Series. Not sure what he's going to be doing next year, but we talked a little bit about his season, and let's bring him on right now so we can hear what Kyle has to say. Well, back here on the Power Hour, we've invited in one of our most requested guests because even though you've only made a couple starts here, Kyle, they've been pretty good so far, and you're coming off of your first road course race in the NASCAR Pinty Series at, we'll call it Mosport, even though it's CTMP. We'll call it Mosport, whatever we want to call it. 10th place, not bad. Out of 31 cars, that's pretty good. We had some minor issues during the race that set you back, but you fought your way back up there. How was it?
Yeah, it was a blast. I mean, Mosport's really fast. It's a ton of fun to drive and some cool corners there, and definitely learned a lot throughout Saturday. And then we had a lot of speed in our APC Auto Parts Pennzoil number 22, and we were running there. There's a lot of strategy, which was really fun because normally I don't get to experience that in the APC series. So the strategy was cool there. We were running second for a bit behind LeBay, and our car was really fast. So we were just seeing how our strategy was going to play out. We took left side tires. I think we were running like fourth or fifth, and then a caution came out, and we were going to pit to take right sides, and we were going to be in a good spot, likely sitting around 8th or 9th with 15 to go. And unfortunately, Watts Link Bolt ended up coming out, and then we went around the track with dragging our Watts Link, and the crew got me back out there pretty quick, but unfortunately we lost one lap there. And so there we battled from that just to be the first car one lap down if another caution came out, which we got lucky and it did, and we got the free pass. But there's only 8 or so to go there, and we had to come from the very tail end of a 31 car field. So that was tough, but we kept going and passed a lot of cars there in that last run, and we worked our way up to 10th, and that was a ton of fun. Those last 8 laps, just flying by all those guys. I was pushing as hard as I could, and I wish we could have been up there to battle for a top 5. I think we would have been right up there with DJ Kennington and Cameron and Trayton. I think we had similar speed to all of them, but it just goes to show how good our 22 racing cars are, and I had a blast.
And the field, really, as a whole. I mean, the fact is, a couple years ago, Kyle, things were not looking great for the Pinty Series. We were dwindling in numbers. I think there was a couple races where we had 13, 14 cars. And now we're getting to a point where we're getting over 20 almost every race. I mean, we got down to 18, I think, out west this year, but remarkable for a series in Canada that you've now made a couple of starts in. You also raced your way at Oshwegan Speedway. Surprisingly, you weren't supposed to be there in that second race, and you got the opportunity to get out there and opened a lot of people's eyes, finishing second. I mean, you come off of a road course this week, but prior to that, you were at Oshwegan. So how was that transition for you? Obviously, going from a crew chief, winning crew chief with Ken Schrader the night before, to now all of a sudden, or not the night before, but on the Monday, and then to get in the car yourself and finish right behind your teammate.
Yeah, it was awesome. It's definitely been a learning year. I've done a bit of everything in the Pinty series, so it's really cool getting to experience all the different tracks they go to. And I wasn't much fan of the dirt, but after driving it, I had a ton of fun out there. So we started at the back in that race, so
Yeah.
we passed a lot of cars in that race as well, and we got up to second there and battled with Straighten for a little bit, and that was really cool. I worked on the cars on dirt. I was a crew chief for Friesen the year before and then Schrader this year. So I learned a lot about the cars, but I never got to get out there and drive it myself. So it was a really cool experience. And I think knowing about what you need to do and learning from Stewart and Trayton and Kenny Schrader, obviously, that definitely helped me a lot. And again, the 22 racing cars were just so fast. We've been so good this year, and I don't think anybody had anything for our 22 cars there on the dirt. So hopefully we can keep going, and I'd be okay with more dirt starts next year.
I mean, right now, and this is what's great we could talk about on the Power Hour, because we're not here talking specifically about one team or one driver, but I think we kind of have to. 22 racing this year, it has been between you guys and Pi Racing for wins. Until yesterday, until Kevin Lacroix came in, it was the only two teams that had won this year. Remarkable in a sense that you guys had gotten the majority of those wins, 6 with Trayton, 1 with Schrader, 1 with Tag. What was the change this year for you guys? Because it is, I'm not saying that you guys were overly bad last year. That's not at all. But there's a difference in how you perform from one year to then the straight domination that you guys have had this year.
Yeah, we've been working really hard the last 2 or 3 years. I know ever since the Goodyear tires have left, we've been off a bit. And then the last 2 or 3 years, we've been working really hard on our cars to get them better. I think we were really close last year. We were just off a little bit, and we tweaked on some things over the winter, and it's been awesome this year. Trayton's dominated on the ovals almost every race, and just everywhere we've been really fast. So it goes to show, 22 racing, we've always been putting in a lot of work, and things are finally just hitting this year, and we've been able to pick up a lot of wins.
Are you guys tired, or are you guys ready for more? Because you got Delaware coming up with a 200 lapper APC race for yourself. And then you're not going to stop there. I believe you're going to go and be in the Delaware Pinty's race as well, with the chance of your teammate potentially getting his first career championship, the first Ontario champion since his brother back in 2016. What a big weekend for everybody out at Delaware Speedway. One of your best tracks is Delaware, running out there last year on a weekly basis in the late models. So you've got to be pumped about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Knowing how good we've been on the ovals in the Pinty series is definitely a confidence booster going into Delaware, and it's one of the tracks I'm most comfortable at. So we're definitely going to go out there for the win, and I want to get that first win and be. I'm the only driver from 22 Racing that hasn't won this year, so we got to change that at Delaware, and I think we're going to get out testing. We're definitely not tired. We're going to keep working. We're taking the late model out to Delaware tonight, so we're staying busy, we're staying at it, and we're going to try and find some more speed for the last weekend of the year.
You've got some exciting news, obviously, with Jet Motorsports. You've made a big deal there. So let's talk about that a little bit. How did that whole thing come together for you?
Yeah, so there's a guy by the name of Chris Mitchell who's from up here. He raced late models at Peterborough for quite a while, and now he's down there in the States working with Augie Grill pretty closely. And we were talking to him a bit throughout the year, and then he got us into connection with Pat Jet and Jet Motorsports, and we wanted to go down there for a couple races and see how it goes. So we've done a deal for this first race this coming weekend down at New Smyrna, and we're going to see how it goes. I know he's got some really good equipment. He's had some good drivers in his cars in the past, and hopefully it all goes well this weekend and we can maybe go down for some more races throughout our off season.
It's going great for you. Obviously, in the lead for the APC Series Championship as well, heading into Delaware. 200 laps with the late models. I believe it's 200 again for the Pinty Series. You can do 400 laps at Delaware over 2 days. And then you're not done racing, like you said. You're going to try and do some more. Do you have plans to head down to Florida for the Snowball this year?
Nothing set for sure, but the APC series announced at the start of the year that the champion will get a ride down at the Snowflake. So, we're pushing for that. We're going to give it our all, and hopefully we can come out on top, but it's definitely going to be tough. There's a lot of good guys there. So we got to get our car dialed in for Delaware at the end of the year. But yeah, nothing set in stone right now, but I'd love to go down there and run down in Florida and down in the southern states throughout the winter.
It's definitely something that you can definitely do. And obviously we love getting to see you kind of come up through the many divisions of Ontario racing into the APC series. And now, of course, into the NASCAR Pinty series. We don't know about plans for 2024 yet. We're not going to ask you, but obviously there's some great people that you want to thank because you've gotten to race in the Pinty series. It'll be 5 times this year. Of course, a couple times last year as well. So let's hear those partners and people that you want to thank.
Yeah, I think I've got some of the best supporters and people behind me in all of racing in Canada. So I'm pretty thankful for everyone who I've got supporting me. And obviously, it wouldn't be possible without APC Auto Parts Centers. They've helped out huge in both the APC series and the NASCAR Pinty series. So without them, I wouldn't even be racing likely at all. So they're a big thanks to them. And obviously, Pennzoil for coming on board this year. It's been really cool to have a company like Pennzoil with such prestige and how big they are beyond my car. So I'm proud to represent them. Obviously, Quick Fire Starters has been with me for a long time, and they continue to support me. We have Sierra Excavating and MBS Motorsports, part of the 31 group. They've helped me out throughout this season, so big thanks to them. The list goes on and on. Dayco, Federated Auto Parts, AW Millwright, Stewart's Equipment, Herb Transport. I could go on for hours about all the people who helped me out and all my supporters, and just goes to show how many people are behind me and what it takes to be a contender in these races and these series. So yeah, just thanks to everybody who supports me, and it wouldn't be possible without all of you.
So I'm going to put you on the spot here because you've been in the NASCAR Pinty series, you've been in the APC series. Who is somebody that heading into 2024, we need to take a look at and see how there might be in that position that Drayton Lapsovich is in right now, somebody that is going to be potentially ones to watch in next year and maybe in the coming years?
Oh, that's tough. There's so
Very
much
tough.
talent in the NASCAR Pinty series, but one guy I think who's got a lot of talent who came back to our series just for a couple races is Alex Lebay, and from what I've heard, he's going to be running full time next year with the new team, and he's had some great success the last 2 races. So I think he's going to be one to beat, and with all his experience down in the States since he's been up here and he's a past champion, he's definitely going to be a contender next year, and hopefully we can battle with him throughout the season.
Well, it definitely sounds like a lot of fun, Kyle. Obviously, we want to thank you for coming on the Power Hour and chatting about your season so far. Best of luck at Delaware. We can't wait to see you out there. Finally, can't wait to be back at Delaware. It's been a year since we've been out there. So definitely the best of luck for the rest of the season, Kyle.
Thanks, Cam.
Well, I want to thank Kyle Steckley for coming on and chatting with me. Obviously, busy times for the young racer out of 22 Racing. Obviously, some really cool opportunities for him. And I think what's really nice to hear is the maturity level on a young kid like that. And it's really quite nice to hear that and to see really that there's a lot of good that we can hear from that young racer. He sounds so much like his dad, Scott. It's kind of funny that they kind of have a lot of the same similarities in the way that they talk about racing. And I think he's just starting out too, right? He's still a young teenager and has an opportunity next year to really do some stuff, I think, if he's going to be back in APC next year, if he's going to be in the Pinty series next year. It still obviously remains to be seen what the plan is for him. But I mean, we look at 2023 as a whole, it is almost done, and that's crazy to say that we're already hitting the finale of the NASCAR Pinty Series. In 20 days, we'll be at the Fall Brawl on the Great Canadian Weekend out at Delaware Speedway once again. We've had a fantastic year, some good counts, not the best at some tracks, obviously. Our lowest totals were the Western Swing. Whether or not the series does continue to go out there, I don't know what the revenue is. Obviously, certain things about this series are doable. Obviously, certain big races that we're getting high 20s to 30 cars, that is what you need. The big races that do that are obviously the road course races. The ovals don't seem to get as much. I mean, the most that we saw on an oval this year was, in fact, the race out at Ohsweken Speedway. Aside from that, it was around 21 was our basically our max. 21, 18 were the others. Delaware, I don't think we'll get there. I think we'll go a little bit more. I think because it's the finale, we might get a couple more names. Obviously, I've got 24 listed right now, which would be put us right at Ohsweken 1, where we'd have the same amount. And obviously, not everything is about the count, but it obviously helps. Now, I was going to add potentially if Wallace Stacy shows up for Delaware, if Daniel Ball shows up, then we're all of a sudden looking maybe 25, 26 cars. Than any other surprises. And the reality is I don't know if we've really got a ton of other names that would come out and do a single oval track race, maybe the 12. I'm just looking at there's maybe the 12 of, say, Raphael Assard in Kingsbury's car, if that's something that they're looking at. But aside from that, I don't really know anybody else that's in a position. We already know of the field cars for Amber Balkin and Ryan Dyson, both making their Pinty Series debuts at Delaware Speedway. I feel like there could be something from like an EHR. I would like to see Jake Sheridan back. The other side of it too, is there potential that we see Ray Morneau Jr. back? He got the opportunity last year to drive in the 03. It didn't really go very well. They had mechanical issues really right off the hop, unfortunately, and he didn't really get the best opportunity and to race. At least he had speed in the car, but unfortunately it didn't. He was our winner actually of the best paint scheme in the NASCAR Pinty Series community page. It was him, Brandon McFarlane, and Matt Shirley in the finale, and his supporters put him through, and he definitely has a ton of guys, right? Why don't they run long races on dirt? Big guy, the reality is, I would assume, is the cost and the reality. I don't think dirt racing as a whole is primarily what they want to put a focus. I don't know if the tires really work for doing that. Obviously I'm a little bit biased because I'm not as big of a dirt fan compared to asphalt. So it's a very tough situation. Like, I don't really know why the reasoning would be, why they don't want to do it. But at the same time, you could ask, well, why don't we do more laps at this track or this track or this track? Well, we're not going to be able to do 300 laps at Ohsweken Speedway. The cars are too slow. It would take probably forever for it to happen. And then, of course, the surface, right? I don't know if the surface can hold up that entire time. I'm not Clinton. Clinton would know a lot more about that than I would, because I don't run a dirt track. So he would probably know all of that as to why they don't go a little bit longer. But they also ran 2 races this year. So doing 100 and 100, you got 2 races out of it. I don't know if it's something that the series really is going to look at next year. I think that Granby is someplace that seems to have a lot of steam. I'm not suggesting that Ohsweken come off the schedule for it. I believe Ohsweken was already booked on a 3-year deal, so they'd be back next year anyways, along with the race out at Eastbound Park. There's a couple other places that I think they could go. Obviously, I think another race in Quebec is warranted. I think you have a big enough fan base there. And at the end of the day, it probably warrants the Quebec fans getting a little bit more love. They have a lot of the fan base because they've got a lot of the drivers and a lot of the partnerships. The cars, a lot of them come from Ontario. I'm not suggesting that we have to make any drastic calls because obviously as a fan first, I want what I think is best for the series. But I also want to be enjoyed. I want to enjoy it, and I want everybody to get their fair share. It's really tough, though, on these teams with the budgets that they have to be able to go out to Eastbound Park and go out to the Western Swing. So I'm not sure what the longevity is. I believe they would have to take all this into effect when their deals are up with these tracks. And, of course, the attendance figures. How much are they getting? I can't imagine that it's easy for Ohsweken Speedway racing on a Monday, Tuesday when a lot of people aren't available. Obviously, they had to push it to Wednesday this year. It's not the easiest thing because people have to take off work. Same thing goes for the Western Swing. Racing out on a Tuesday night, it isn't the easiest thing for people to just drop their lives to be in a race. And I think the schedule obviously is something that they want to work on for next year. I know there were plans that they wanted to get the schedule out in the summertime. Obviously, that's not looking like it's going to happen because there's a lot of things that have to come into creating a schedule for year to year. And one of the things definitely, hey, big guy, I would not have no doubt that if Larson came in, they would sell out. I think maybe that's part of it, though, is if you look at, and I've said it before, man, I would rather see some Canadian stars get in there than having the big kind of NASCAR Cup names. However, I'm gonna give that another thought because if we all of a sudden get a Kyle Larson coming in, he goes back and tells everybody else, this is the real deal. Like, this is a lot of fun. Now, we didn't really see it with Kenny Schrader and Stuart Friesen, but I think it's the star power side of it. I'm not going to crap on Ken Schrader at all because he's a veteran, he's a legend, and I absolutely love. It's not about rivaling, though, Tim. It's a matter of, okay, we've got Dave Bailey. We've got other names at Ohsweken Speedway that are regulars. That's the way I'm thinking about it. Because the problem is you run into Larson or Bell, how do you up it? Right? That's kind of the problem here is I understand going out and getting a Schrader, getting a Friesen, getting a Larson, getting a Bell. Do I think that that's what we should have to rely on? No. I would like to see, and I've thought about that when we first had the plans for Ohsweken Speedway, I absolutely love it. It's not about, it's about filling the house. Absolutely, Tim. Absolutely. But again, it's what is it that we want to promote, right? Are we promoting stars from somewhere else or should we be promoting our own? That's what I'm saying. In addition to what we have, which is the Larsons and the Friesens, give us a couple more of those names. Not to rally on, but Big Guy brought it up and you started the convo. I'm just throwing it out there. Yeah, no, it's not a problem. That's what we're here for, right? To me, I want to see some more of those Canadian dirt names, as well as a big name or two. It would be an addition to. Tim, let me clarify that. Because, again, you're trying to sell people on a dirt race for stock cars. It's not the easiest thing to do. You've already got people that love Bristol or hate Bristol now. Matt Williamson would be the name that I was looking at. He would be the first name that I would go towards. A big, big name. It's not that I don't like Dave Bailey. I think Dave Bailey is great. But let's add in a couple more. Let's get ourselves the big names. Like, I think we've done the Friesen, we've done the Schrader a couple years. I kind of feel like this year 3 would be the time that if we can get the bigger, and it's no offense to those guys, but if we could get some bigger names, a Cup Series, hell, even if you got a retired name, I mean, he's not going to do it, but say Smoke, right? That would bring people to the racetrack. Absolutely. Personally, you know what, Tim, what my initial thought of Ohsweken Speedway was? I really thought we were going to have like, if you remember the Great Canadian, what was it? It was the Great Canadian 300, I think it was, at Cayuga Speedway, where we had, I think it was like seven Cup guys that came in and raced NASCAR with everybody. Obviously, it's a money deal, right? Friesen, Schrader, Kenny Wallace. That's a name I thought we were going to get, and I'm not sure what happened there because he had been rumored for a long time. Clint Boyer is another one, definitely. Absolutely. Boyer would be one. I think you could get, we would say Christopher Bell. He's already tried to do it once. So, and then I've got to say Rico Abro. I know he's not a NASCAR star, but I want to see Rico in one of these cars. Obviously, again, I'm not the biggest dirt guy, so I don't know all of the biggest names out there. Buddy Kofoid would be one too, because he's raced in these types of cars before. So, like, again, there's a lot of names, but I think we all naturally go to straight NASCAR Cup. Well, I would love to see like a couple of them, like, and current. Again, Schrader's. He's one of the biggest dirt racers. So he's still racing. I think he said he was going to race like 90 times or something. Yeah, Slack was bringing in Cup guys into Cayuga in the 70s, 80s. Been going on forever. Exactly. And I'd love to see that because, again, this is where it ties in, Tim, where if Montreal happens next year and we are, the Pinty Series has to be there. If there's anything that is going to help them being there with the Pinty Series and the Cup Series in the same weekend at a racetrack so that we can get some sort of crossover appeal, get those Cup drivers tweeting out pictures, get them into these cars racing, because we know that's what Kyle Larson would do that. Kyle Busch would do that. They would go because they get an opportunity to get back more practice on the racetrack for a big weekend. You get guys aligned with Chevrolet, they go in with Dumoulin. With Paillet. You get really, you can get so many different names. You can get cars from all out. Then you add in already what would be a massive entry list if we go back to Montreal. We were getting 40 cars. They sent cars home. Now, obviously, it's a different time financially, but I love the idea. Seat time is golden. Absolutely. That's what I really would like that. I think if they do that, and that's where I was like, people were saying, do we have the Xfinity Series come with them or trucks? I kind of don't want either to come with it. I want just Cup, because then the likelihood is that you could potentially get some Cup guys go, hey, Ed Hackinson, I'd like to be in one of your cars for the NASCAR Pinty Series race. Gives me some experience on the track, racing. And you got to do it in year 1, not year 2, because then people start to know the track. Get them year 1, make the Pinty Series your big Saturday race, the headliner, with Cup Series names, with local talent in the Pinty's race. You bump it up, you have it on TV live. I mean, it could be a huge, huge thing. Absolutely huge. We're going past our time, though, and I unfortunately have another podcast to do. So I'm going to have to cut it short. We're going to get into this topic. We are obviously here all season long and into next. We'll be here next week, even though we've still got a couple weeks to the build-up at the Fall Brawl. I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in and listening. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, G-Force TV. If you haven't already, check us out the NASCAR Pinty Series community page on Facebook. We are all there. And then, of course, definitely make sure you subscribe to NASCAR.ca's social media. Definitely check them out. NASCAR Pinty Series Community Official, blue check mark on Facebook. You can find all their social media there. They do a great job. They're on Instagram, on Twitter, or X, or whatever it's called. I believe they're now on Threads, and they're still on Facebook. So definitely keep on going, guys. We're almost at this season finale, but thank you all for tuning into the Power Hour. Give us a thumbs up. We really appreciate it. We'll catch you all next.